tenant. So if it was one building, one tenant in the building, they get one. One office tenant in the upper stories, they get one sign. If it's two, they get two, but no more than two.
I recall, and maybe you can help me, there's something that says 5 signs limited to 4 feet by 16 feet.
In length, yeah.
Is that on each building, or is that?
It's definitely on the east building.
Okay.
The west building, I'm sorry. I'm getting this. So this one, the one that has all these different angles, part of the reason that companies are going to come here is because they're proud to be here,
So,
and they want to.
I assume that's essentially limited to 1 per each facade?
Yes.
That's what she said, okay. Thank you.
Well, going back, just really quick to, when you were talking about the building size. So I know originally the project with the 7 West came in at 8, and then, through public input, council input, as far as the height, you guys were able to get it down to 7. Was it ever considered to be 6, or it just originally you came up with the 8 and just were able to kind of manage to step back and come down? Like, what made you want to bring it down, or what was the final decision to come down to 7? Was it just based on, public and council comments?
Yeah, definitely. It was in response to what we've heard, and a lot of times the public makes things very clear, and you make things very clear, and it's it was very clear to everybody that walked away from that meeting that the 8-story building was not going to stand. We made that clear. In terms of bringing it down further, it was a discussion that we had. And the response back was, like, we're not proceeding.
So it's a balance between.
Well, that's what I was trying to get to, the balance.
You're trying to balance community and council feedback with project viability. And the compromise was a reduction in 1 story and setback.
Right.
On that town story to try and, balance those interests. And believe me, there was a lot of pushback from the town on the developer with regard to project viability.
The reduction was on 1 building only, right?
Yeah, this building was and is at 6 now, and then this one is at 7 with this 20-foot setback here, and like all along that front and along this side too.
Thank you. I just wanted clarification as to like how, you guys
How
are
low we
able.
can go.
Yeah. All right, do council members have any other questions or comments before we open it up for the public hearing? Questions, I'm sorry.
I just want to emphasize what Councilman Arlington said at the beginning, that we as council members have worked hard to find the answers for all your questions. In my case, I couldn't answer back every single email, but I met the administration to address those questions. And it's a great work that has been done for everybody here as a team to address the questions and the issues on the whole project.
All right, at this time, I'll open it up for a public hearing. If there are any members of the public wishing to be heard? Right. Right, so it's not just specific
Yeah,
issues.
make sure that so the public, this is a public hearing on any matter. It's not a public hearing on this ordinance. If the ordinance is introduced, then on second reading, there will be a public hearing on this ordinance. But certainly
On that specific.
on the specific ordinance, there's nothing to preclude you from speaking out on this ordinance right now. Just want to make it clear that the public hearing is on any matter that you want, not limited to this ordinance, because the public hearing on this ordinance, again, would be at the time of second reading, assuming that it's introduced tonight.
So what's this ordinance that you're voting on tonight?
Well,
Yeah,
first
just
of all, wait,
allows you to
wait.
go ahead to the next step.
Can you- Can you put your name and address on the
Oh,
record,
sorry,
please,
Gary
and
Thomas,
keep your comments
16
to less than
Conklin
5
Avenue,
minutes.
Morristown, New Jersey. So I'm not clear what you're doing with the ordinance procedurally, but I'll just say, comment-wise, that rendering, the buildings themselves, I think, look better than I expected. The promenade, the walking space, all that to me is better than I expected. My comments are on the roundabout. I think starting, you know, New Jersey used to have lots of roundabouts. In the 70s, they started taking them out because they eventually impede traffic. There's also concerns that we've heard here, pedestrians, bicycles. One thing I didn't hear is there's evidently a learning curve for out-of-towners, visitors that come in, there's a learning curve to the circle. We're a county seat, we're also a destination now. There's a lot of people coming in from out of town, so I'm not sure that the flow is going to be the same as calculated. Also, there's an increased accident rate on circles evidently. First thing that comes up is a list of attorneys that specialize in roundabout injury. So just hope you take all that
That's not the first thing.
into account.
I've Googled this before.
Right. So specifically, I thought there were going to be lights to stagger the traffic going into the circle to allow pedestrians to cross. So if the idea is that you keep the circle flowing, I'm not sure how you get pedestrians across there. I view that as kind of an exciting event for the pedestrians. So I think a lot more thought needs to go into that.
We need to answer these one at a time if you want us to answer.
Okay.
them.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Let him have his time.
Okay.
Okay. And so then I don't know, to me, I view it as kind of high risk. It's kind of unusual, doesn't do a lot for, I think it's negative for pedestrians. And like, what's the back out plan? What do you do if this thing doesn't work? And there was one slide up there that had times, like service times. Most of them were green, a couple were red. But there was a list of times. Yeah, that one. All right, so you're comparing no build to build with a circle. What do those times look like if you had lights there? I mean, you said you kind of optimized it, but what do the actual numbers look like? Because this one, like Elm Street, gets a lot worse. Can we compare them to another set with lights? And then, just to compare what the effect is on the other ones. And then finally, going up to the green from the circle, was that 1 lane or 2 lanes in the build? Because 1 lane backs up right now. And matter of fact, right before this at 640, I took a photo of it backing up into the intersection. So yeah, this.
Yep.
This backed up to there already, and it was 640 kind of post, thick rush hour. So I was wondering if that was changed to 2 lanes to help that.
Right.
So those are all my statements.
Okay. Can I just read them back to you to make sure I got
Sure.
everything? And the engineer's probably gonna answer most of them. So like one is this your grandma's roundabout? Like the ones that we took off in the 1970s at Ledgewood and wherever else, right? Is this the same thing? Because it's not. It's a high risk, like what's the risks associated with this for the town? What happens, is there a backup plan or a
Blackout plan.
Blackout plan?
It doesn't work.
What are the, what would be the performance here if we did the development, and all the development around this with just traditional signals, right?
Yeah,
Without-
the numbers, what do
Right.
the numbers look like?
Right. And then, will the green cue back into the roundabout?
Right.
Okay. I can't answer any of those, but.
So one general answer again is that with respect to pedestrians, as I indicated, the burden is going to be on the applicant at site plan to demonstrate that the intersection is safe for pedestrians, cyclists, all motorized vehicle folks that are gonna be traveling through there. That has not really been fully developed at this point in time. It's been developed conceptually, but not fully developed because all the art engineering hasn't been done yet. But they have to demonstrate that at the time of site plan application, and if they don't, that would be a basis for the planning board to deny the application.
And part of the changes that we made when we worked with the administration on it, basically putting in that performance criteria for pedestrian circulation, basically improves pedestrian circulation and safety over the existing four-way intersection conditions. So that's all in there, and they have to conform to it.
So more work to be done there.
There's more work to be done on all of those questions. In terms of the process, which was your first question, this redevelopment plan ordinance is going through the normal, ordinary process required by state law, which is there's an introduction on first reading, which is being considered tonight. If it passes on first reading, it doesn't become law. It then has to go to the planning board for master plan consistency review and recommendation. Then it comes back to the governing body for public hearing, second reading, and vote. And if it passes then the ordinance is adopted. So tonight is really part of a process, but it doesn't end the process of implementing the plan.
And how about just the one question about going up to the green?
Sure. So, as it's proposed, it is one lane going towards the green. Based on our review of the information and putting the roundabout in and modifying some of the signal timings, we're not seeing the backup occurring. We are seeing it in the no-build. So the models are showing a backup from the green into this intersection. But when we put in the roundabout, we're not seeing that situation occur.
It's the roundabout and the signal timing.
Correct.
Up at the green, which is the thing that alleviates that, more than the roundabout itself.
Well, the roundabout provides a relief and a balance of cars approaching and entering and flowing, so it smooths out the flow. It cuts down on the platooning of vehicles heading
Surges.
towards the green, the surges that you see. And that's, that plus the signal modifications are why we're seeing the reduction and not the queuing from the green back into the roundabout. Just to touch on your first comment about the traffic circles versus roundabouts, there is a distinction and a difference. So a traffic circle is typically larger footprint, and typically you stop when you're in the circle. There's usually traffic signals that are part of the traffic circle. They are inefficient, and you do see the state removing them. Modern roundabouts are different, so you yield when you're going into the circle, and you don't stop when you're in the circle lane. The design is different. They're popping up more and more throughout the United States. There's leaders like Carmel, Indiana, that are taking out their traffic signals and putting roundabouts everywhere. They have 125 roundabouts. And kind of to that point, what the research is showing, and the research for how a roundabout's going to operate is based on empirical data. So people go out and they see, what type of gap does it take for me to get into the roundabout? What am I feeling comfortable and acceptable to get into? And that's baked into the models. And what we've been seeing since roundabouts have been introduced throughout the United States is that the capacity of the roundabout is going up because people are getting more comfortable with those. So it does take, there is a learning curve, and that is baked into some of the models. So one of the models that we ran has an environmental factor that looks at, are you comfortable at a roundabout? Is this a known location for a roundabout or not? And we took a conservative approach at that. So that is all baked into the models, and that is forming our decisions of where we're at this point.
So you're confident that this will work?
We are comfortable, that it will work.
All right, so my main concern then remains the pedestrian crossings, because I think that's, I think you're gonna want, I think the developer's gonna want people crossing in there, and I see that as maybe the biggest obstacle.
Yeah, and we'll look at that at the planning board, but one of the other aspects of it is because of the circle in the middle, and the way that you enter, traffic moves through slow. So, if there is any impact, God forbid, there is a crash, it's a less severe crash than you would see at a traffic signal. But I agree, enhancements to the pedestrian experience are really going to be looked at, and we'll take a keen eye on that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Katrina Ferguson. I live at 13 Hill Street in Morristown. I've been a resident here for 18 years. I had a whole bunch of stuff that I wanted to talk about tonight, but thankfully most of it's been addressed. I sent out an email yesterday and I got responses from councilpersons Dave and Ina Cornier and Mr. Armington. So I thank you for your responses because you have addressed a lot of the issues. But what I want to particularly address tonight is green initiatives, because I haven't been hearing a lot about this. I think you mentioned it, Mr. Armington, that there was some talk about solar garbage disposal or something within this complex. But I think it's really important that we all start thinking about this, and now is the week to do it. Because we have our world leaders currently at the United Nations trying to address the global climate crisis. And we all heard what Greta Thunberg had to say. She said people are suffering, people are dying, entire ecosystems are collapsing, and we're in the beginning of a mass extinction, and all you can talk about is money and fairy tales of eternal economic growth. So I understand right now that the green initiatives will be addressed at the next stage of development, and that right now all Morristown developers are encouraged to sign on to the Sustainable New Jersey Green Building Guidelines. However, these are just guidelines, and while we appreciate that they're good guidelines, I feel we could use this opportunity right now with this particular development to expand these guidelines and create a mandate. There should be no choice but for developers to comply with this checklist. They should have to do this. I'd like to see Morristown become a beacon and an inspiration for other communities when considering how we want to grow our town. Any new developments should fall in line with commitment to use renewable energy. And I want to know what the plan is for this particular development. We need to act now and divest ourselves from the old-fashioned and self-destructive use of energy powered by fossil fuels. Thank you.
Thank you.
Perhaps Phil could briefly touch on the green checklist that we have as part of the planning board approval process, and incentives encouragement to developers that would be considered in the plan.
Yeah, we do have a green checklist, green development checklist as part of the site plan and planning board approvals uniformly. Did I do that? And those things are really based on LEED NC, LEED for new construction, things like Energy Star appliances and meeting existing ratings and rating systems for that, like ASHTO and the percentage of ASHTO standards. The other things that were included in here specifically, in our design standards, we have sections relating to sustainable building design materials, and the promenade itself, in there, it's required to put green stormwater management, or non-structural passive stormwater management into the landscape architecture. The other thing that I'll say is, if we care about the planet, approve this project. Because otherwise, they're going to Parsippany where they're at now, and they're going to Florham Park where they're at now, and nobody's walking, bicycling, or taking trains to there. So all the fossil fuels we burn to get to these inefficient locations and the homogeny and Euclidean zoning that exists in this county, where those are the other options for Class A office. Location-efficient design and location-efficient planning is the key. So we can go and it makes 100% sense for the developer to have the most efficient mechanical systems they can, because it's cheaper for them to run, to have an airtight building, to have as close to net zero as they can. It's the things they don't care about is the 900 employees or whatever it is that are driving to work every day, and if you approve this somewhere else, that's the only, or if these employers go somewhere else, the only option workers are gonna have to get to their jobs is to get in their car and drive. At least here in Morristown, we have options. We have options in Morristown, you have options to live here, you have options to walk to work, to bicycle to work, to take a train here. So I would say that the transportation and mobility side of this is a huge part of the green aspect. Just by this location and this type of development pattern is the most green we can get.
But the other point you're making too is that the green standards are only 2 years old, so they're rather current. And then the other point I believe that we're making is every year you see Sustainable Morristown score go up. And so there is an organization in town called Sustainable Morristown that actually has been working with the administration, has been working with the town quite closely. And we've been seeing that score, that sustainability score going up. But so I think if you're looking for something that's really going to have an impact, where Morristown is making a difference, it's actually the involvement of that sustainability group, that sustainability score. And I'll just use last night's language. You know, the mayor was talking about last night about getting the town ready for a plastic bag and/or styrofoam initiative.
And stuff.
And styrofoam. So, you know, that's actually the next step in this process, but everybody agrees with you.
Right, but can
Well,
we,
you can't,
but can we use solar power on this building? I mean,
you can't have, wait, because you already.
I'm done, okay.
Right.
All right, but,
And what I'm trying to accomplish is that when you guys come up and you ask your questions, that we give them an opportunity to respond so that we can move through the public hearing, because there are a lot of people here and I'm sure there are many people that want to speak. So once your questions are asked, then just give them an opportunity to respond and let somebody else have an opportunity to speak. Any other members of the public? I'll start on my right from front to back.
I am Bierce Riley,
You don't have to touch it.
from 19 Bud Street here in Morristown. First of all, I want to ask about, or I'll tell you a little bit about roundabouts. I have extensive experience with roundabouts from traveling in England, and I've probably spent about a year's time total driving around England and Great Britain in general. Roundabouts only function in moving traffic, in free-flowing traffic. If there are stoplights in the immediate vicinity, everything is a snarl. Traffic on Morris and Spring Street is already heavy during the day and stop and go at rush hour. There are nearby lights within 1,000 feet of the intersection. We also have a tremendous number of large commercial vehicles that pass through Morristown. Landscapers' dump trucks with equipment trailers are very common. I sat in the Swiss Chalet one day, and it was in mid-afternoon, and they just kept coming. They are long vehicles. What happens on this roundabout if you get 2 of those vehicles at the same time? Will traffic truly flow? We also have delivery trucks, such as beer and soft drink trucks. I often see them parked along the road, delivering soft drinks and beverages. Typically, the beer wagons do not stop along the street, but the soda trucks do. We also have buses, New Jersey Transit and school traffic. And I just think that get a landscaper and a trailer, New Jersey Transit bus, and a delivery truck on that circle at one time, it's not going to work as planned. The traffic load on Lafayette Avenue mainly comes from Route 287, both north and south. At rush hour, Route 287 heading southbound is backed up north of Morristown beyond the Route 24 exit. And this is a long, It's been going on for years. It's a major backup. A lot of that traffic comes into Morristown. If they didn't want to come into Morristown, they wouldn't be in that lane. So the traffic is backed up onto 287. Some people come off the exit. I'm on interstate, I'm going to go 60 miles an hour, and they put their brakes on because the traffic is stopped. So there is almost always traffic coming off 287. We also get a lot of traffic from Route 24, where it ends in Hanover Township, and also people coming off the Columbia Turnpike exit and the Whippany Road exit. And I know these are kind of outside the bounds of Morristown, but they tremendously impact what comes through here. My feeling is roundabout should be designed for the worst case scenario, not just fluffing away, oh, that's only in rush hour. Because I used to come home sometimes at 2 o'clock in the morning, as did my neighbor, who was a nurse. We've seen the traffic backed up at all times of the day. The number of employees, at the June meeting, it was estimated at 1,000. Is it still that? This is for Deloitte?
Yeah, no, Deloitte is not that much. The garage is.
Well, wait 1 second, because your
Oh, sorry.
time is running out, so if you have any additional questions, you might want to put them out there so that you can get answers to those.
I'm so sorry for thinking about this. All right, my other question is pedestrian crossings. I believe in New Jersey the pedestrian has the right of way on a crosswalk. It's been that way since I was a kid. So if somebody steps off the sidewalk and onto the crosswalk, traffic would have to stop, yes or no?
Yes.
Mr. Planner?
I think that, again, for the efficiency of the meeting, Ms. Riley, if you could say what you want to say and ask your questions, and then at the conclusion of your remarks.
All right, then maybe you can think about that. Who has the right of way? All over Morristown, people walk out they step off the sidewalk without looking, in this case, to the left, to see if anyone's coming. They don't wait for a break in traffic. People have been hit on the corner of Cobb Place crossing Washington Street at rush hour. And I have problems with SJP as a developer, but I'd save that one.
Thank you, Mrs. Rowe.
Morristown.